Hi, my name is Victoria Gong, and I'm going to be teaching you about literary elements today. We're going to cover a wide range of different literary terms and terminology to help you get a greater understanding of an author's purpose. So as a quick lesson overview, this lesson will cover a wide variety of literary terms that will allow students, which are you, to deeply understand a variety of texts. And by understanding new forms of literary elements, you'll be able to have a greater grasp on an author's intention. I targeted this for fourth grade students. By the end of this lesson, you should have a couple of main skills. You should be able to understand the underlying structure of different texts. Literary figures are the elements that constitute the whole body of a given sentence, and you should be able to understand that. Know a wide range of literary terminology, which will allow students to have a greater understanding of different texts and reads. Okay, so as a kind of small review, you should already know what a metaphor, simile, and idiom are, so we're just going to go over what the difference between these three are. So first of all, a metaphor is a comparison. So pretty much it's a comparison without like or as. And simile is the other one where you would use like or as. So a lot of people like to mix up metaphor and simile. So one thing I would say for simile is you always use like or as. So like she was, the sun rose like a flaming lava ball. And this is a simile because we see the like. So now if we want, I'm going to give you an example of a metaphor, which would be all the world's a stage. So pretty much that's just saying like the world is your stage, but the world isn't necessarily your stage, but you're comparing the world to one of like a drama stage center where you're the main character. That would be a metaphor. And a simile would be saying all the world is like a stage. So pretty much the only difference is using like or as in simile. Otherwise, they're decently similar. An idiom is just a common saying that people like to say. So people like to say it's raining cats and dogs. Well, it's not actually raining cats and dogs. It's just a figure of speech that people, it's a dialect figure of speech that people enjoy saying. Okay, so we're going to cover a couple of different genres. So first of all, fiction, it's a story that's not true and they're meant to entertain. We go to poetry. We know poems use rhythm and rhyme as part of their structure, and they have a specific line length, and they're usually set in stanzas. We go to nonfiction. This is all true, and it's meant to use information. It expresses information through ideas, opinions, or facts. Then we have realistic fiction. These are stories that are made up, but they're about things that could happen to real life people. We have historical fiction. This portrays people, places, and events that did or could have happened. So pretty much what happens is they like to set a story in a time period that actually happened, and they use real life information from that time period, but the story itself is made up. We also have a drama. So a drama is a story that's written as a play, and dramas are meant to be performed as it's read. So a lot of really good drama writers, they say you're not supposed to read it as a book because it's meant to be performed, so it's different. Now we're going to go through some poetry terminology. So first of all, we have rhythm. Rhythm is the rise and fall of voice produced by the alternation of stressed and unstressed syllables in language. We have a rhyme scheme, which is the patterns of the lines in poetry, both rhyming and unrhymed lines. The next slide will go over this in more detail. We also have stanzas, which are a group of lines in a poem. Okay, so here we are going to look a little bit more into rhyme scheme. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. If we see star and R rhymes, we have the AA pattern. Then up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. High and sky, we see the BB pattern. When the glorious sun is set, when the grass with dew is wet, set and wet, we see the C rhyme scheme. Then you show your little light, twinkle, twinkle all the night. We see the D rhyme scheme. So this is the rhyme scheme. We have AA, BEB, CC, DD. So we have two lines of repeating rhymes, and then we have a new one in the next two lines, which is this rhyme scheme. So we're going to go through a quick plot map. So we see the exposition, which is the beginning of the story, and it usually introduces the conflict, the character, and the setting. It's just like the background information of what's going to happen in the story. Then we have the rising action, and we see how there's a little bump here. Sometimes some stories have more little bumps, but there are events that happen before the climax, and the characters are usually trying to solve the problems, but they fail. They usually have a pretty big struggle here where they're trying to get to the climax. The climax is the turning point, and it's usually the greatest suspense or the greatest action that happens in the story. So it's pretty much what the rising action was building up to. Then we have the fallen action. It's the events that occur after the climax. They're usually more chill, they're usually more calm than the rising action and the climax, and then they fall towards the resolution, which is the end of the story where all the conflicts and problems are solved. So we're going to look through point of view. So first point of view, the narrator is a character in the story, and they're going to use I, we, etc., things like that. Third limited, this is when the narrator tells only what one character perceives. So he'll use he, she, or they. Third omniscient. So a lot of people get these two confused. In third omniscient, the narrator can see into the minds of all the characters. They will also use he, she, or they, but you won't just see it from one character. So let's say you're reading a book and you have a main character, her name's Holly, but you also have a main character named Brandon. If you can see into both Brandon and Holly's minds and their thoughts, then it's third omniscient. But if you only can see Holly's thoughts, then it's third limited. Okay, now we're going to talk about synonyms versus antonyms. So synonyms are words that are similar or have a related meaning to another word. Antonyms the opposite. It means a word opposite in meaning to another. So here are some examples. We have amazing and wonderful. So this would be a synonym because they're very similar. An opposite, or an antonym, would be slow, fast. So as we see, slow is the opposite of fast. Okay, characterization. Characterization is the way a writer reveals the personality of a character. So now, how does an author develop a character? So there's two methods. There's direct characterization and indirect characterization. Direct would be when the author tells the audience what the personality of the character is, just straight up tells you. So example, the patient boy and quiet girl were both well-mannered and did not disobey their mother. So first of all, we know they're patient, we know the girl's quiet, and we know they're well-mannered. So this is just simple characterization. Author is just straight, directly telling you. So indirect characterization is a little bit different. It shows things that reveal the personality of a character through a deeper underlying purpose. So for indirect characterization, we see STEAL. This is an acronym that can help you remember it, STEAL. So first of all, we have speech. What does the character say and how does the character speak? This can give you a greater understanding of the character. So if the character, maybe he has a southern accent, says y'all, likes to speak with a little drawl, adds a little bit of dialect, then you know a little bit about them. You know that they're from somewhere in the South, you know a little bit more. Their thoughts, what is revealed through the character's private thoughts and feelings. And you can get a little bit of a deeper understanding on the character. For effect on others, what is revealed through the character's effect on other people, and how do other characters feel or behave in reaction to the character. So pretty much from this one, you'll know is when you're learning about this certain character, if you can understand how other characters feel about this character, you'll have a greater understanding of them as well. You can look at their actions. What does the character do? How does the character behave? So if the character behaves a certain manner, you know a little bit more about them as a character. Looks, how does the character look like, and how does the character dress? So if you want a deeper understanding over characterization and STEAL, I recommend you watch this video. So there are different types of characters. So we're first going to look at static and dynamic. So a static character is a character that does not change throughout a literary work. A dynamic character is a character that goes through some type of change during literary work. So a flat character is a character who only has one or two sides. They're one-dimensional. So usually you would say a flat character is a static character because if they only have one or two sides, that means they probably didn't develop throughout the literature. But if they're a round character, this means a character has many sides and they're well developed. This probably means that they're a dynamic character because they went from being just one-sided and now they're fully developed because they went through some sort of change. I recommend you pause this video and you work on activity. Think of your favorite book and name 2 dynamic characters and 2 static characters. Okay, tone versus mood. So a lot of students get these two confused. So tone is the way the author speaks, the author's opinion or kind of voice coming out. So when I'm speaking of tone, I'm speaking more of what the author is trying to do. Mood is what the reader feels. So if I'm reading a scary book, the mood I feel might be suspenseful. However, the author's tone could be something else. Maybe the author is trying to be furious. Maybe the author is angry when he's writing this. However, the mood I feel in it when I'm reading it is suspenseful. Okay, now we're going to do a quick check. First, an antonym is the blank of a word. It's the opposite of a word. What is the difference between third person limited and third person omniscient? So third person limited is when you only see one character's point of view, while third person omniscient is where you see multiple. 3. Name the different parts of a plot. We have the exposition, the rising action, the climax, the fallen action, and the resolution. What makes a simile different from a metaphor? Despite the fact that they both do compare two unlike objects, a simile uses like or as in their comparison. 5. What is a rhyme scheme? A rhyme scheme is a pattern of rhyming that some sort of alternation usually, some sort of pattern, and it's usually just the structure of a poem with different rhyming elements. Quick check continued. What genre seems like it could be nonfiction, but is really fiction? This would be historical fiction because even though they use real life facts in a real life scenario, the characters are still made up, which makes it fiction. 7. What acronym can help you remember the types of indirect characterization? We can look at the acronym STEAL. S is speech, T is thoughts, E is effect on others, A is action, and L is looks. Give an example of a simile. An example of a simile would be like, my heart is like a lonely hunter. What genre is meant to be performed? This would be a drama, which is a play. Explain the difference between tone and mood. Tone is the author's voice kind of coming out, and mood is the feeling the reader gets after reading the passage. For additional learning, I recommend at least one of these links. There's 2 games. We have a rhyming game, and we have a game over metaphors and similes. There's also a video over synonyms and antonyms. My citations. A little bit about me. I'm Victoria Gong. I live in Houston, Texas, and I really enjoy making these curriculums. And if you have any other ideas or something for me, you can contact me on my email below. Thank you for watching, and I hope this helped you understand a little bit more.